Hero Club presents Los Ingobernables de Tokusatsu.
Hello and welcome to Los Ingobernables de Tokusatsu, episode 82. I am your host, Wheelchair21, and joining me tonight is my infallible co-host, the fourth member of the podcast, Soundout12.
When do I get promoted to number 2, considering I'm here most of the time compared to other people?
It goes in number of appearance, not numerical value of how consistent you are on the show.
So what you're telling me is it's like SPD and the numbers don't matter.
Sort of, yeah, it's like SPD and the numbers don't matter. Or other Sentais where numerical value actually doesn't truly matter at all. Or more
like Go-Go 5.
Yeah, that's kind of a better analysis. I mean, there's a few other Sentai series out there that actually don't follow that route, right? Because, like, technically, what is it? Metal would be considered the fifth member, and then technically, by proxy, guest star Alex would be the sixth member, followed by Darkon as the seventh. Like, Darkon and Alex are considered other Rangers by this point in the show.
Yes.
Whereas the main five are the Michaels, the Project, and the Visible Ninja, and myself. That's how it goes, and I'm sticking to it.
Sounds like a plan.
Alright. So this week for our lit list, we're gonna have some interesting news, and we're gonna also be looking at something very Sentai-y, which is great since our opening discussion kind of went with that whole motif and gimmick. So when it comes to our news, we're gonna be going off on this list of the fact that we're gonna be talking about a Mothra Blu-ray coming to North America. We're also gonna be talking about the new SSSS.Gridman Super Mini-Pla sets, as well as the final North American trailer for King of the Monsters, as well as a little bit about the first known Japanese trailer for the film. And then we're going to be talking about Subarai Productions' 7th Ultra Series in the New Generation Hero Saga, which is Ultraman Taiga, not Tiga, Taiga, T-A-I-G-A, the actual son of Ultraman Taro. And then for our main discussion, we are going to be talking about the short Super Sentai miniseries, Super Sentai Strongest Battle, which aired throughout the month of March. So, like I said, we're gonna go right into our news, and the first thing, like I said, Mothra. The new Mothra Blu-ray is actually going to be a steelbook, actually being released by Mill Creek Entertainment, which previously released the film. Now, I believe in their previous release on DVD, it only consisted of the actual American release of the film, the American dub, which was originally through Columbia Pictures back in the 60s, and it was, how I should say, a little bit of a racial satirical dub in some regards, because a lot of the actors put on very faux pas accents. However, with this 1080p Steelbook Blu-ray set coming out, it will include both audio edits, including the original Japanese version, as well as the English version, and the special features will consist of the various international trailers, whether it be Japanese, English, a photo gallery, and a feature-length commentary track. Now, this feature-length commentary track will consist of sci-fi historians Steve Ryfel and Ed Godzowinski. I think I pronounced his name right. I probably pronounced it wrong. It's really hard to pronounce this man's name correctly. However, these two have done several commentary tracks for other Toho films, such as, like, Gojira, Godzilla vs. Monster Zero, and Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster on other previous releases. And I think they've been a part of other films, whether it be released through Mill Creek Entertainment, Sony, and I want to say Tokyo Shock. So they're well known. This set is actually going to be releasing on July 9th, 2019, and it's going to be roughly $25 USD. So I'm going to throw it over to Soundout real fast on his thoughts on the first time on Blu-ray Mothra collection.
So I'm super happy about this because, like you said, we haven't had the Japanese version released before. And the other side of it is that when it comes to Mothra, the previous DVD releases were not a single release. It was always bundled in with some other Toho films, also in English dub only. And so those were not ideal releases for the film because it was on the same disc as two other movies. So the compression was really, really bad and the quality overall suffered from it. Now, I'm super excited for this, despite, like, Mill Creek is a budget company, but they have gotten a lot better in recent years. They used to be incredibly terrible at releasing anything, and their releases were just too cheap for their own good. But they've stepped it up a lot recently. They started doing steelbooks, for example, like they did Ghost in the Shell and Metropolis, two anime titles. So it's nice to see Mothra not only getting a Blu-ray release, not only getting the proper audio released, but also be a steelbook as well. This is definitely something I'm going to be picking up probably day one. I'm super excited for this. I love the movie, and I've always wanted a good copy of it, and I think this is finally it.
Yeah, I want to add to the point is I've owned the original English version through two methods. One is through recording it off of, home video VHS tape while watching the Sci-Fi Channel back in the day during their Christmas morning marathon. And the other version is when the original home video release became very scarce and hard to find. As well, I think at the time there was no DVD release for it. I had to get a pirated version that was a really good upgrade in clarity. Like someone went through and actually fixed the transition from VHS to digital and had uploaded it in a Godzilla batch. So that's the only way I had it in the dub. And I actually never saw the original uncut Japanese version until probably, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago when Turner Classic Movies got the rights to actually distribute the uncut version on their channel, usually every summer and October for Halloween. For some reason in summer, they would usually take 2 weeks out of July to do Toho Kaiju films and other Japanese sci-fi films, as a weird theme. But I digress. So to have it actually now on a home video in North America is very rewarding for those who have yet to have that, especially when Rodan and the original Gojira were already, made available to your American market. So having this completes the, I guess you would say, holy trinity of Toho, even though Toho considers there to be a holy quartet in that regards of being, the King of the Monsters 4 or the Ghidra the Three-Headed Monsters 4, which we'll talk about in just a moment, because I want to go right to the product side of things, where we have the SSS.Gridman Super Mini-Pla sets. The first set now actually includes everything to make the full-powered Gridman, which means you have Gridman in his digital fighter mode, you have the Caliber for the Gridman Caliber, you have Battle Tracto Max, you have Buster Boar and Sky Vic to become powered Zeon. These are the anime counterparts to the original versions of the show that made God Xenon and whatnot. And honestly, for a Super Mini-Pla set releasing at retail, this is the most expensive, being at 10,400 yen, and it's scheduled to release this September. Now, it also comes with the fact that you can pre-order on P Bandai the SSS.Gridman Grid Knight and Gridman Initial Fighter set. Now, these are, the secondary, I guess you would say, anti-hero and secondary character to Gridman and his actual original initial form when he debuted in the anime. And these come with cool optional hand effects and actual blast effects that you can display either with the figures from this set or with our regular base Gridman in the retail set. This exclusive set will be 5,400 yen, and like I said, is a P Bandai exclusive that will also release in the same month as that set. So if you want both, it's going to be over $150 before shipping and handling fees. Soundout, what is your thoughts on these two Mini-Pla sets?
Overall, I think they're cool for what they are, but in general, I just kind of don't care. It's just plain and simple.
Yeah, no, I want to say that I too want to agree with you. It's mostly because I didn't really like the anime. I really did love the designs and the style, but I just wasn't all in on the anime. If the basic retail set does drop, I want to say in discount prices on stuff like Ami Ami and Hobby Link Japan, which I'll probably get it, even if it shows up in America, and if it goes on discount at, say, Barnes & Noble, then I'll probably get it. But overall, I think for being the most expensive retail set I've ever seen, it's a hard pass. It's unfortunately a hard pass.
I think the price really knocks it out of the market for a lot of people.
It really does. I know some people who actually went in and got it, and I know others who just were, disgusted by it. But overall, at least they're making it, and it's technically more affordable than the Kotobukiya, 1/6 scale set, your figure art size set, which is, almost $200 right now, that huge set that they have on websites. Then, for trailers, we have our final King of the Monsters trailer, which is actually a bigger advancement to their beautiful trailer that released about a couple of months ago. This one has more in-depth footage of the actual kaiju fighting not just each other, but, being put against militaries and whatnot. and causing so much actual damage. It still actually doesn't drastically spoil the film, but it gives you that pretense that we might not see all 4 main kaiju together on screen together, but we will at least see Mothra and Godzilla and Ghidorah together. But with Radon or Rodan, it's very skeptical on if he'll survive to the final act of the film due to some of the edits and cuts that I've seen thus far in this trailer, as well as the first Japanese trailer shows that while it is getting a full Japanese dub, the film will also be accompanied by an actual, authorized theme song by Alexandrios, a huge Japanese rock band, and the song that they're, I guess you're saying contributing to the film would be their song Prayer. Fans in North America probably better know Alexandrios for actually performing the theme song to the live-action Bleach film now available on Netflix, which stars Kamen Rider Forze, Kamen Rider Meteor, and Kamen Rider Nadeshiko.
Everything comes full circle.
Yeah, so everything comes full circle here. So, thoughts on the final trailer here for the North American release?
You know, we got a good trailer, a lot of excitement that's been building not only within our community, but outside of it, which is wonderful. I'm super duper excited, looking forward to this, and can't wait to see it. I just want to see it, and then I want my Godzilla vs. Kong, like, right after. But, that's what's happening, so. It's just like, I'm as excited as I am for this movie, I am super more excited for Godzilla vs. Kong. Plain and simple.
Like, I'll tell you right now, I do think that with the context of Godzilla vs. Kong, I think as the director said, it's like 2 grumpy old men coming to blows with each other. It makes more sense with the relevance of, well, we obviously know Godzilla's gonna survive this film, which means he's gonna go through all these other kaiju, which mean by the, next film, it can literally be up in the air of who the decisive winner is, especially with the fact that we know that Toho is very skeptical on continuing the MonsterVerse in North America and seeks to do their own Kaiju-verse internationally, with actually releasing in Japan and distributing to North America their own brand new, monster movies based on their Toho properties of Godzilla, Rodan, Mothra, Ghidorah, Gigan, Megalon, and the list goes on. So with that, you really can't tell where this is gonna go, especially if that means Godzilla vs. Kong is the end of the MonsterVerse, or is it the beginning of something else where, hey, maybe Kong will win again, and maybe in that case, maybe he'll go on to fight other kaiju that will be new original ones that we've yet to see because, they're being made by the producers and, animators and whatnot at, Lionsgate, Warner Brother, and so on and so forth, or Legendary, I should say. I don't know why Lionsgate I said. I don't know why that came into my mind. Power Rangers, damn you. Yeah, so overall, that's all I can really say. So we'll move on to the real main course of the news, which is Ultraman Taiga, which we've known about for a while through teasers out of Televicoon magazine.
But I thought Taiga already existed. No, Taiga, even though so many people seem to not understand that, which is actually going to be the son of Taro. Ironically enough, I estimated that he either was going to be a form of Taro or actually be the son, and I'm glad that the fact is he is the son. Had it been anything else, it might have been not as good as I thought it would be. With this, to start off, Tsuburaya did release an official synopsis for the show, which talks about how aliens will be emigrating to Earth secretly, and only a handful know about this. To help aliens, move to Earth and to police their activities, Earth and the other neighboring planets form the EGIS, the Enterprise of Guard and Investigation Services. Amongst them is our protagonist, Hiroyuki Kudo, who will be working day and night to help protect the peace. However, he doesn't realize he is actually the host of a Ultraman. Obviously, this is Ultraman Taiga. However, as Taiga revives within Hiroyuki's body, he also discovers he's going to be the host for other Ultramen arriving to this world. Now, we also know for Hiroyuki, he's going to be 22 years old, and he matches the actual age of his actor, Yuki Inoue, who actually stated that he was in love with Ultraman as a kid growing up, with his mother always taking him to the yearly stage shows that were in his local, prefecture where he grew up. So he really hopes, though, that because he is a fan, because he gets to do one of his life, childhood dreams, he's hoping that his role as Taiga, a son of a prolific character, will be remembered by future generations, not by just the name and the precedence of, being the son, but by his actions and the character's actions with his Ultraman partners and whatnot. And because he's going to be partnered not just with Taiga, he's going to have other personas like Titus and Fuma
Ultraman Titus is actually from the planet U40, which is actually the birthplace of Ultraman Jonius. Jonius is actually the original anime Ultraman from the Ultraman anime from 1979, and fans will easily be able to identify him due to having a star-shaped color timer, even though he's a very bulky, heavyweight badass. The third Ultraman is actually Ultraman Fuma, who comes from planet O50, which is actually the planet in which Orb, Rosso, and Blue originally were born on. So, it's ironic that for Taiga, he's going to be partnered with another Showa universe-like character and a more traditional New Generations-like character, or at least they're established on the lore of those eras. And it kind of omits the regular early Heisei, which would be something like Tiga, Gaia, Dyna, Mabius, and Max, which is kind of sad, but would have been cool had there been a fourth, so you could have like that quartet of the eras of Ultraman, sort of. And to transform, we're going to have the Taiga Spark, which is a wrist-mounted transformation device that's kind of the fusion between the actual Mabius device and, better yet, the Geki Ranger's changer. And they'll be using actually these things called the Ultra Taiga accessories, which is going to be a various type of set of accessories using keychains, bracelets, and rings. Like, it's going out with, like, this whole jewelry aspect, which actually fits Japanese culture quite well, since there's a huge gacha thing for kids to collect, gashapon versions of keychains, plastic toy rings, and, like, bracelets. So this thing's gonna hit off real well with the kiddies compared to making up, new gimmicks like batteries, video gaming cartridges, Ranger keys. Like, these things actually seem like a gimmick,
This seems like it's something that people already collect to begin with. It's why the O medals were really popular during O's, is because it's something people already collected.
Yeah, people were coin collectors. And the interesting thing about this is the villain of the series is actually Ultraman Taiga, who actually debuted just earlier this year on March 8th in the Ultraman Rube movie. And he's actually another Ultra from M78, who actually was one of Taro's closest friends before he turned dark. And he's now out to become the arch nemesis of Taiga, and it's most likely he's seeking revenge and resentment towards his obvious father, Taro. Interestingly enough, also, Ultraman Taiga is voiced by Yuma Uchida, who's better known for voicing various characters in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and Yuma Kosaka in Gundam Build Fighters Tri, as well as Ian Dalton in Mobile Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans. So, yet again, you see Tsuburaya is getting a Gundam character to voice their Ultra. Yet, at this time, we do not know the voice cast for Taiga, Titus, and Fuma, but I'm estimating that they're also going to be Build Fighters, G-Reco, and or Iron-Blooded Orphans members, due to the fact that Tsuburaya has practically touched almost every Heisei to now Gundam series known to man. So
Tsuburaya and Sunrise should just work together and give us a Ultraman anime produced by them instead of somebody else.
So yeah, Soundout, what's your thoughts on the overall, official reveal of the series?
I'm very excited for this. Like, legitimately very excited for Taiga, for just everything involved with it, and I'm looking forward to it. I like the inclusion of Legacy Ultras, like you said, it's like, oh, hey, here's the original anime, Ultraman. That's pretty unique. Like, that's something that, it's super cool, and I really do like it. And I'm looking forward to seeing where this show develops because it looks really awesome. And a lot of the ideas that are introduced is some different stuff than we normally get, which is good because I felt like, despite Rube having two different main characters, it did kind of feel like this is the normal Ultraman that we usually get. So it's nice to see something be completely different like this.
Yeah, I want to say, with this, I feel like they're returning back to, what we had with X. Because we avoided it with Orb, per se, and we avoided it with Geed and Rube, where, our main protagonist is actually a member of the alien agency, either to defend the world from them or help them emigrate to the world, like to the Men in Black. So having a character back, it's a return to standard, I feel like. But by having, connection to legacy characters, like Soundout said, with Ultraman Jonius, with Ultraman Titus, who is, another representative from his race of Ultra, it'll be great, especially due to the fact that early Television scans do show that the Jonius suit that was made for, stage shows and promotions will be seen in the series. And the fact that, Fuma is, a broad example of Orb. His suit radiates with a fusion of Orb and Nexus Junius Blue, Asamu. Like, it's kind of funny how he looks very Nexus-y, which makes me wonder, does that mean, like, will he be using Nexus accessories to power up, whereas Fuma will be using Jonius powers and Belial powers due to the Thunder Breaster kind of design of his bulky suit? Because, like, I feel like that's going to be very resonant about them, especially with the teaser trailer that I want to talk about. Just showed, like, how the suit actor or suit actors within the suits have these different styles to portray the characters, since obviously Taiga's going to be your more well-rounded, based Showa Ultra-like Ultraman or regular-based Ultraman. Then you have Titus being your more Thunder Breaster style, big, brooding badass, and Fluma's going to be more of like your Tiga Sky or your Orb Hurricane Slash being the agile, mystic, speedy, SOB to fight your enemies. I think that's going to be a very interesting format and style. I mean, it's usually the base with Ultramen is that they usually have an in-between form, a really strong form, and a form that's usually well regarded as being highly agile.
You know what's reminding me of heavily?
What is that?
The Gundam Age 1 had that thing where it's like, oh, here's its speedy form, here's his big bruiser form, here's his base form.
Okay, I'm gonna say this right now. What would you do if the voices for Asamu, Kyo, and the other ones were all three of the Ultras then? If you're saying that's how it reminds you, like, what would you do if, like, at least Asamu and Kyo are at least two of the Ultras? What would you do if at least anyone age are one of our Ultras then?
You know what's one of those things that I do where I just stop breathing and I'm just, like, super excited about something, but no one knows because I've stopped breathing? I would do that.
Because I'm going to say, like, what would you do if you ironically called it that, like, Taiga's going to be, like, Asamu, and the one on the left, Titus, is actually going to be Kyo, or the one on the right is going to be Kyo, and then, what was the grandson's name?
If I unintentionally called it, I will buy the figure arts of all of them.
That would be pretty interesting. Or, you know what I kind of want now? I kind of want the voice of Wolf to be Titus.
Oh, it'd be so good.
I don't know why, but, like, I'm thinking too into this, but it'd be pretty awesome.
If this actually happens, I will legitimately buy all the figure arts. That's the answer.
Because, like, the only thing I can think of is that these guys have to be, like, an age voice actor, a regular build fighters, a build divers, and or G-Reco or IBO actor, because Tri-Gear is, like, an IBO and a build fighters Tri, and most other Ultra characters have been, like, most other Ultra characters in the last couple of years that have voices usually tend to be Ultramen, because you have Mamoru Miyano, you had his cohorts Mirror Knight and Glenn Fire being other, Gundam-esque pilots. You had Ultraman X being Graham Aker. So, like, it's probably, like, a shoo-in or a good estimation that if they're gonna have voices, they're most likely going to reflect Gundam characters, possibly. Or at least share roles with Gundam characters, since someone at Tsuburaya loves Gundam.
And how can you not love Gundam?
Simple. You like Zoids.
You like Evangelion.
You had to go there.
Oh, I always have to go there.
But overall, though, I think it looks good. I like the visuals on the trailer. I went in, like, before they took the video down, in case they took the video down, I made a couple of GIFs of it, just because I was like, oh, these are too good to be not saved. And yeah. So I really enjoy some of the visuals we're getting. And I'm looking forward to it. As we stated, the collecting gimmick, it's probably going to be a highly sought after one, because keychains, rings, bracelets, they're already a part of Ultra lore. I mean, rings have been used to transform in the past. Bracelets have been used to gain power-ups, weapons. Keychains themselves, I don't know how they would relate directly to Ultraman, but they'll find a way, of course, because the whole jewelry aspect of how the show has had in the Showa era.
Yes.
I think that concludes our news portion for now, since we're highly optimistic, and we'll go right into our main discussion, which is Super Sentai Strongest Battle. So, Soundout, since I've done quite a bit of the talking, how about you give our audience a brief rundown of what the 4 episodes were about, who are our heroes, who are our villains, what was our plot, and so on and so forth.
All right. Super Sentai Strongest Battle, representing the end of the Heisei era for Super Sentai, as well as a lead into Kishiryu Sentai Ryusoulger. This was a 4-part mini-series that took place during February of 2019, leading into March of 2019, connecting the end of Lupin Ranger vs. Pato Ranger and the beginning of Ryusoulger. The general idea was that 36 teams have been formed of Super Sentai members that were invited to this battle, and the battle would allow them to get their wish granted if they were to win the battle. Now, the teams were pretty much just had different themes. Like, you had, your strong, silent types were in one team. You had a strong team. You had, a team of weirdos, which is the focus of the series. Team Weirdo is formed via Juo Eagle, Gokai Red, Aka Ninja, Tokyo Go-Go, and Sasori Orange. It was really interesting. It's like 3 reds and then 2 shades of red made up the team. And they were the focal point of the story as they noticed that something's not quite right with this battle, and each character has their own personal motivations of what their wishes are and what they want to achieve. So the whole battle is hosted by this character named Rita. Now, Rita bears a striking resemblance to Bandora. In fact, the name, of course, is similar, if not pulled directly from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers' villain, Rita Repulsa. And as she is assembling the battle on planet Nemesis, we get to see a lot of different cameos from Sentai Rangers' costumes. And what I mean by costumes is not just suits. What I mean is that they got stand-ins for a crowd shot that featured all of the Rangers in their civilian forms, which felt so much more lifeful, I think, than just having the Ranger costumes only. Like, it's like, oh, hey, they're actually there. You just don't get to see their face. Outside of the 5 returning actors for Team Weirdo, we got a lot of other cameos and other appearances by other Ranger actors, including the most recent being Patsuran Ichigo, who was wonderful in this, as he got to kind of interact with some other Sentai members. And we got some, cameos from like Gao Red, Boken Silver, Gohan Red, etc., etc. There's too many to name in this recap. The general plot is pushed forward by a character named Gysorg, who is a mysterious knight who ends up attacking the Gokaijus at the beginning of the special, and throughout the special, Captain Marvelous is trying to track down Gysorg because something has happened to Gokai Yellow, and he needs to track her down via Gysorg. So Gysorg appears unofficially throughout battles, and throughout the first couple episodes, we start to get hints that not everything's quite right with Rita, as she's been gathering these crystals the whole time from each battle one, and eventually starts working with Gysorg as he is added as part of a wildcard system to the Sentai Strongest Battle. Eventually, of course, it's uncovered that, yes, Rita is totally evil, working with Gysorg, using him as a pawn, and her whole goal is to revive Zyuranger villain Ultimate Great Satan, who is the exact reason why I think there's no dinosaur teams at all represented in the Strongest Battle lineup, because of course he was defeated by dinosaurs in the past. So Great Satan is revived and there's a huge battle. Now on the side of that, we also have Gysorg being revealed as being a living armor that can take possession of other people. We see him taking possession of Gokai Yellow, Aka Ninja, and a couple others where he has control over them and gains their abilities and skills that he can use in the future. Now, in the ending of the battle, the Team Weirdo comes together and are able to use Gokai Galleon to defeat Great Satan. Rita fuses with Gysorg, and the 2 new Sentai Rangers, Ryusoul Black and Ryusoul Green, show up to defeat Gysorg and kind of introduce themselves formally. What's kind of neat is that the epilogues of episodes 1 through 3 featured a scene of them as they were going through a cave, eventually stumbling upon an invitation to the Strongest Battle. And that is pretty much the highlights of the main plot of Super Sentai Strongest Battle.
Alright, that's pretty good, and pretty valid. Since I let you lead off talking about it, I guess I'll give my thoughts first.
Please, my throat needs a break.
Good, because I know you were gonna die, because I heard how many times you went to catch yourself.
I was breathing.
Okay, so with this special, I was actually pretty hyped going into this, knowing that we'd have a lot of amazing, I guess you would say, stunts and fight choreography performing in these episodes that were going to be either really elaborate or very quick and to the point. Going into it, I was hoping it wasn't going to be too swift and to the point, and it ended up being that way. I thought there would be a little bit more elaborate takes. The only time you get a lot more of the elaborate fights is specifically if Team Weirdo is involved. If they're not involved, you're just going to get a nice montage of Ranger actors coming back, performing quick vocal roles, and having, amazing modern day suit actors incorporating a style similar to what you saw in the original shows, and I guess you would say modifying it to the standards of the current day Sentai fights, which was pretty cool, like in cases of seeing like Ryusoulger fighting using both the styles of the original, 90s era stunt team, then mixed in with a little bit of, wire works. Even Kieran Ranger got involved in one of the fights. we also had the fact that, other Sentai actors did show up in their human forms, but either were there to either help progress characters' motivations and storytelling and connect them to, I guess you would say, spiritual, mutual connections. Like, we have an amazing fight between Zero Eagle and Gal Red, which is obviously a nod to the fact that they're both anniversary seasons that are about nature, living, and life. And to see Yamato and Gal Red get along so well and have this amazing narrative, discussion on, I guess, their life views was very positive. It was also in a similar case of how Yamato was like, hey, newbie, and, Patrón Ichigo is like, hey, senpai, and they have this understanding of they don't really want to fight, but they're willing to fight since they know that they don't have to kill to win, So there's a lot of cool moments with specifically Yamato, proving why Yamato is one of the most underrated Red Senshi of all time, whereas Aka-Ninja is shown to be one of the worst Sentai members of all time, because he's kind of an arrogant asshole who tries to do a lot of good things, but because he's kind of like a Gary Stu, broken pony, idiot savant, he kind of gets away with doing whatever he wants, whichever way he effing can, pretty much. And so that kind of makes it really annoying in some regards, since him and Marvelous don't entirely see eye to eye, even though Marvelous is humored by some of the antics he performs, as Kagura tries to be the peacekeeper for the team, while Sasori Orange, having been a former spy, goes off on his own, trying to figure out what exactly is entirely going on with this, which leads to him and Doggy Kruger becoming good friends, and Doggy Kruger technically becoming the sixth Senshi of Team Weirdo. So, I really like a lot of that, of how they were able to do a lot of the tropes, at least with the 5 members of Team Weirdo, and incorporate a suit like Doggy Kruger just because of simplistic reasoning, but also because of the ability of that he is a unknown, well-established leader and commander to help them through this adversity that they were stumbling upon. Especially due to the fact that one of my favorite moments is the fact that they have Aka-Ninja meet one of the original butt monkeys of Super Sentai, Sosuke, go on Red. So I feel like that helped a lot, as well as the fact that Eiji, a demon hunter kind of guy who would sense something being wrong immediately because there's magic afoot, was like, oh crap, something's wrong. And he's like, yeah, Sasori, I think there's something wrong here. Maybe we should team up kind of thing before they get eliminated. So I think there's a lot of good narrative with at least some of the actors they were able to bring back to make callbacks and connections to, I guess you would say, successor and predecessor, as well as tributes and references to tropes in the franchise. And I think the whole thing with actually Guy Sorg being a reference to Gildan from Abaranger, as well as Dogold from Koyuger, was a nice added incentive, especially since there is a foreshadow that he might be a character within the main series of Kishiryu Ryusoulger. The funny thing that people don't notice is, while Rita is obviously a reference to Bandora and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, her staff and design is very Abaranger-y in that style, so it actually adds more of the incentive of why there are no Dino teams allowed. So there's this whole huge thing of reference to Koyuger, Abaranger, and Koryuger perfectly, with the fact that Rita is a reference to Zyuranger and a reference to Abaranger, where Guy Sorg is a reference to just Abaranger and Koyuger. And then you have Dai Satan, who now is Ultimate Dai Satan because he's finally got his full body revived, because his remains are located on Planet Nemesis. Some bullshit cockamamie explanation of lore. And honestly, the suit was really immaculate and made him look like a Japanese Oni, which I think was one of the intents of the original character, even though it was just a guy with makeup and a weird, awesome headdress. So overall, I like the advancement in lore, especially because the Satan Whistle Tower thing, that was a subplot in the series with Dora Frankie, was his brooch on his, gown, I thought was an amazing callback. I think they did an amazing job on that suit, and I thought it was just fan-frickin-tastic. Back to you, Soundout, if you're not back from dying.
So I'm back from dying, and the thing I want to talk about specifically is the music. The music in this special was wonderful, not only because, well, it was good. The fact that they brought back so many tracks from previous Sentai series, and if you had followed stuff and you knew what it sounded like, you'd be like, oh, I recognize that. That's something I recognize. That piece of music is from this show. And it went as far as the actual new music composed for Strongest Battle is only about, I think it's like 4 or 5 tracks. They actually included it with the special edition single for Ryusoulger, and it's really cool because you get kind of a best hits collection of all the Sentai music that is related to the characters that are on screen and fighting and working together. And I think it honestly is really cool. A lot of the references, a lot of the character connections, this was a love letter to Super Sentai and everything it's done in the last, era and even beyond. And it was nice. Like, it felt like it was Super Sentai, but it felt like it was Super Sentai at its absolute best. And I love seeing Sentai at its absolute best.
Yeah, like when you talk about the music cues, while not some of my favorite tracks from the series that were, mentioned and brought up, like, they were actually noticeable tracks. You had stuff from Zyuranger, which immediately showed up. You're like, oh, that's the Zyuranger, like, oomph, that usually happens right before they henshin or right during the roll call. There was stuff like the Gokaiger, Triumph thing where they're about to transform. There was battle tracks from Bokenger mixed in with Goanger. There was a lot of Zyuranger. I think the only opening from the series that were mentioned was actually Gokaiger, Zyuranger, and Tokyuger, and the only one they omitted was actually Ninja for some reason, I think. And Q-Ranger, I don't remember hearing either of the openings, at least with their lyrics. They might have been in there instrumentally, but I don't recall hearing the actual,
I think with Q-Ranger and Ninja, they didn't use them because I don't know why Ninja, aside from just general unpopularity, but I know with
but the theme was actually well liked than the show.
The thing is that it just didn't sell well, and that's what it comes down to. But the thing is, with Q-Rangers, its theme song barely got used even in its own show at times. Like, they used other songs instead. So it just, I don't know, it just didn't work. They just didn't do it. Like, who knows why? Whoever was the sound editor on this was probably like, oh, how do I fit all these songs in? But some of the best moments in this special had some of the best music choices. Like, using the Tokyuger theme for Kagura's fight against Doggy Kruger was amazing. It just elevated the already amazing scene that it was. And it just, it brought everything full circle for her as a character because that theme song was, really suited Tokyuger so well. And so because of that, I kind of feel like they should have had the other theme songs, but I also didn't notice it until later.
Yeah, like, I'll say this right now. Watching it, I didn't enjoy it too much because I felt like it went a little too fast, but I still enjoyed what was present. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't like
I wanted
that it felt
like
short,
a 15-episode
yeah.
mini-series for this.
Yeah, I felt like it could have gone a little bit longer, so we could have had a little bit more than just voice actors. I wish there was a little bit more depth. And I wish we kind of had a half-assed mecha battle, because, like, just having Gokai Galley and just run up on Ultimate Dai Satan was, like, a little underwhelming, especially it's like, they made a suit just to ram it with a boat. What? Yep. And it's making me sort of hope, and this is gonna come out of my ass, like, I'm gonna blow this one way out of my ass. There's supposedly rumors and alleged belief that there's going to be a Go Buster / Koyuger use of Dino Charge versus, Dino Charge teaming up with,
Beast
Morphers. And what I'm kind of hoping is, since we know that mostly it's just those two teams, since the original villain from the movie footage, if they're not gonna use movie footage, was just the Neo Griffiths suit, and just the, which became Snide suit and Heckle / the weird CG monster. Hopefully maybe what they'll do is actually be nice to us and give us the Neo Griffiths suit and give us the Ultimate Dai Satan suit instead as a real fight scene, and then maybe convince Toei, since they might still have the suits, to just have original suit commissioned for the show of, Tatsugame Layo and Koyujin or Gigant Koyujin fighting Ultimate Dai Satan and Griffitha maybe? But, like, I'm just being a little too optimistic and hopeful. But at the same time, I'm like, it wouldn't hurt anyways. Because it seems really weird that, like, Toei made this suit and it went to nothing. Unless, like, it was actually made because Saban was like, hey, make this for us to use, sort of some footage from your, Koyuger versus Go Busters movie. Maybe, like, there's more information that we don't know about this alleged team-up. And maybe they were like, hey, Steve Cardenas or Jason David Frank and other people from the Dino Charge team the Dino Thunder team. Could you guys maybe show up and maybe do this little crossover to give us some symbolic reference to what the hell's going on? But I don't think they're going to be that smart with Beast Morphers right now, but I'm trying to be a little hopeful because it's like, I want to see the Ultimate Dice Satan suit used more than what we just got, you know? It's like, I know I went out on a limb there by saying, hey, maybe they might use it for the crossover, maybe they'll use it for a future Power Rangers crossover.
Maybe they'll use it for a future Sentai crossover. 45th anniversary's coming up.
Yeah, they might. And what I would like, though, is if America does get the rights to use that suit, be, you know, a little bit like the aforementioned Koyuja Go Buster movie, but maybe make it better, like just maybe get a few dinosaur members from each of the teams when they decide to do Kishiiryu Ryusoulger in America. Like, say if they're gonna do that next, rather than go to do Zyuranger or Tokyuger, maybe be like, alright, we can get Jason David Frank, we can get Steve Cardenas, or we can get David Yost, then be like, okay, we can get, Jeff Pauza and, you know, the guy who played Ethan, bring them in, and then bring some guys from Dino Charge in, and then have them team up with whoever their Ryusoulgers are, and they have the fight with Ultimate Dai Satan. That would be pretty cool. And they literally just have it be Lokar, and they go, okay, we'll spend the extra money and get Robert Axelrod to be the voice of Lokar again. Like,
yeah,
I know
that would be
just being crazy, but like I have,
amazing.
Other theories. I'd like to talk more about those theories, but I don't want to go on and on because we want to talk about Super Sentai Strongest Battle. Yeah, so any more things that you want to talk about? Because I like the music cues, I like the fight scenes, I like some of the choice of actors. I just wish we got to see more. But from what I heard, like they started production on it really quick, and then were shocked at how many actors originally came back to do their voices briefly.
It was cool that they got pretty much everybody they could, and I feel like this is like it's kind of setting us up for the 45th. I feel like I feel like there's a lot that can happen for the 45th. That this is the pull they got for this. That is the thing I think about. I'm like, oh, this was like a 4-episode miniseries. What if they could actually get more people, more actors, more everything for like a really big 45th anniversary? Because the thing is that, like, I think back to it, and it seems like most of the Gokaiger cameos were planned out after. Because after it happened, earthquake stuff, you know, a bunch of actors wanted to come back. And they were like, okay, well, how do we do this? But now it's like, hey, look how many actors they got back just for this one-off special. What if they plan it out and have, like, an even grander 45th series? Like, I'm just, like, thinking about, like, you know, it's just like my brain's, like, going into overdrive a little bit on this. But, you know, Kamen Rider Zeo has had the same thing of, it seems like in the second half they had more. But imagine if we got a Sentai season that was a tribute from the beginning. That, like, had it planned out that you would have actors every week, like, from the start. Not like, oh, you know, we found out later that they wanted to do this. But it's like, no, they already are prepping it. Because, like, look, we did this thing. Come do our new show. Like, what if they're already working on that? And what if they just want to make it the best tribute season they possibly can? Yeah,
I've noticed, though, that, like, Sentai, at least, Toei's realized that the actors are more than willing to come back, especially ever since the Tohoku earthquake incident, as well as actors in Japan with Sentai. After Sentai, they made a paycheck just on that show and didn't really need to do any other things, or it helped launch their careers as models, actresses, singers, and or, like, you know, restaurant owners, where they never, in a sense, fully hated the show, but never had time to return to the show until, like, things really settled down in their heyday now. So to have these actors willing to come back, having these actors either, you know, being big-time stars, or guys that, you know, felt like, oh, they weren't respected during the show was airing, or actors that, you know, maybe say the Japanese public think are washed up to return, but having them return to Sentai is more of like, you know, more honorable than other roles they've done. You know, it's like one of those things of, it's this huge melting pot of, you know, whether you're a has-been, whether you just fell out of touch with the fan base, or someone who, you know, because of the show was flung into the public's eye, they all seemingly go, I'll come back. Whereas Rider, it's a little bit more of a picky and sticky situation. But with Sentai, it always seems like you're more welcome back than, you know, Toei's other shows, it seems, at least with Rider. So I think they're probably thinking, how can we do this better? How can we have it be an idea of how can we bring back not just one actor, but multiple actors? Maybe we can do tribute episodes where every week it's not always a new specific team, but we bring in a couple of teams to work together with our concurrent team. Because the thing that really does kind of hurt a show would be with how many Sentais we've had, and how many episodes a Sentai has, is how many tributes can you do a week to be effectively progress your show and characters rather than hurt your show and characters like Kaiju had.
I have an idea. It's a real wild one. I don't even know if I want to say it.
Say it so we can all smoke the doobie.
Right, like, this is pretty out there, but what if instead of having new characters that season, they bring in a team of older actors, kind of like they did here, but give them new powers?
I think that could work, but it wouldn't work on markability, I think, in some regards. I think it could and couldn't. I personally would think an interesting show would be find actors who are still acting who may or not been like the child sidekick characters and bring them together. Like, cause there's so many Sentais where child
oh my god, it's
sidekick
just like
characters.
Kotaro
Yeah.
from Zyuranger.
Yeah, like, cause what I'm trying to say is like, there's so many child actor characters that are like, they want to be a part of the team. Like there was like the kid in Ginga Man who wanted to train and learn to be the next, Warrior of the Earth from Red by the time the show ended, the storybook writer's son. So it's
Imagine white racers on the team.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like, why don't you try to bring either legacy characters together, even if they're too old for the role or too young? Try to bring these legacy characters together that simplify what their season was, but learning about the other seasons they have yet to cross paths with.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
So, like, I don't know what would be the best option for an anniversary season at this point, because it's like, how do you progress your lore without hurting your new introduced characters? Because that's the one thing that, looking back at Kaiju, while they are endearing characters, I felt like they didn't really entirely grow at times, and I feel like they didn't fully, like, progress an entire interactive story. Because, like, the thing is, Sentai is one of those ones of, it's about the characters, but it's also about the narrative of the adventure, of the adversity that they have to go through with their villains. And if you don't have their villains being great contrasts to these characters' growth as heroes, it's like, why are you watching at times? But then there's other Sentai teams where it's completely just wild, zany adventures, and then, oh, hey, we have to wrap up the show, so let's kill off all the villains in the last 10 episodes. So it's like one of those ones of, I'm more used to, I guess you want to say, the 90s era, where villains show up, they either have a foil to a Senshi kills them, a new villain shows up, and it's a foil to another team member or the team itself, and they keep advancing the story. Whereas Heisei stuff, like, way before even, like, I would say Live Man, at least, because Live Man's, like, the last Showa one. So, like, early Showa, they were like, yo, dog, we're just gonna go on zany adventures. And then it's like, what have we done the entire show? Zany adventures? Kill 'em all, Tomino. So it's like one of those things of, I think that's one of the interesting things about Sentai, is that there's so many ways of storytelling, and neither one is exactly wrong as long as you can make it fun.
Yeah, exactly.
So with Super Sentai Strongest Battle, it was an interesting story that could have been a bit longer, but it still got, I think, most of the cues it necessarily needed in the time it was permitted. So overall, it's fun, it's good. People should check it out. It's not entirely subsequential to Ryusoulger at this time, but it is hinted that it will be once Sorg returns to the show, since I think he was actually hinted in a toy catalog to being a part of the series.
I mean, I think it was hinted at the fact that they picked up his helmet at the end of the day.
Well, yeah, there was that whole thing about the helmet being picked up, so I'm just trying to remember, other than that, was there any other things that at least foreshadowed it outside of that, I should say?
I don't think so. I think it's just that. And he's got, like, the same sword as them and stuff, but we'll see.
So anyways, I think that's all we can say. Go watch it. It's fun. It's great. You'll enjoy it. And I got nothing else to say, so let's wrap up the show. Sound out, give people your plug.
Plug is, check me out on YouTube. I review Kamen Rider, Super Sentai. I don't know why I start with Kamen Rider. It's like an alphabetical thing. I definitely do more Power Rangers than either of them. But anyways, I do stuff. Toku reviews. Model Kit Monday is my Model Kit review show. And I also am on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Soundout12, where you can follow me and send me weird messages and say hi and all that fun stuff. So have at it, y'all.
Alright, I am Wheelchair21 on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Instagram is Taja_Doyle. Most people know that I review Tokusatsu toys mostly, preferably mixed between Kamen Rider, Super Sentai, Power Rangers, and Ultraman, and on occasion there's a few Godzilla toys, mostly Trad Masters Godzilla toys. However, there have been a few Bandai products here and there, like Monster Arts and vinyl figures. Other than that, got nothing else to say. Hero Club's information is in the description, as well as our outro, and we'll see you all next week with episode 83, which will at least be the first part of Good Morning Call. We're not going to do the full season. We're going to break it up in small parts, since it is a 17-episode series, that with each episode running roughly an hour, we're going to do it by, I think, quarters, which will be by 4 episodes, with the last group being 5. Anyways, we'll see you next time with our first part review of Good Morning Call Season 1, aka Kamen Rider Wizard Season 2.
Hey, it's Wheelchair21, and thanks again for listening to an all-new episode of Los Ingobernables de Tokusatsu. If you want to hear more content or see more content from the Hero Club YouTube channel, we're going to need you to subscribe, like, comment with some feedback, and share this channel with a friend. We also would like you to check out our website, hero-club.com, and follow us on various social media outlets just by looking up Hero Club for Life, as well as the stores you see are where we shop. Anyways, thanks again, and we'll see you all next time.